was another person I admired. The elegant Lynn Chase had just arrived on a flight from New York to attend this Washington event in her capacity as president of the Academy of American Poets. A beautiful woman in her 70s, Lynn was a sharp-witted patron of the arts, charming and very rich and accustomed to getting her way. Quote, "I got off the plane and realized I had no credit cards or money," Lynn said when I greeted her. "So I had to pick up a man who would give me a ride to get here." After Representative Pallone finished his remarks at the microphone, Lynn Chase asked me, "Is the congressman coming back?" "No, he headed back to the Hill." "Good," I was surprised to hear her say. "I hate his brother." I thought of the two little boys in their leopard swimsuits. And also, I thought of the recent mayoral campaign in Long Branch. Adam Schneider had been re-elected mayor, but Frank Pallone's younger brother, John Pallone, unexpectedly challenged Adam, running a failed campaign against him. The election campaign had gotten a bit rough, as I heard from my aunts and cousins, straining a long friendship between the two families, the Schneiders and the Pallones. There were lots of people in town with those names, exactly the kind of thing the congressman remarked on in my poems. Over dessert and coffee, I tried to explain this Long Branch story at some length. Maybe I even mentioned Marianne Pallone's leopard-spotted bathing suit. Meanwhile, the Library of Congress officials at our table and Lynn Chase all listened politely. As I finished talking a little too much, I said how surprised I was that Lynn knew about the congressman's family. How had she come to hate his brother? Lynn responded mildly. "What I said was, I ate his butter." I sometimes think with my ears and my voice, putting music above meaning. It's a habit that has been my failing and my calling. Little Silver, Hazlitt, Perth Amboy, Rahway, and Secaucus were stops on the New York and Long Branch Railroad. I don't know much about those places, but the consonants and vowels of their names, chanted by old-school conductors on the way to Penn Station, made a familiar, seductive music. My many aunts and uncles lived in Hoboken, Hackensack, Summit, Passaic, Hopewell, and the Oranges. Which family lived where, I don't remember, but those place names made a verbal harmony, like what I found years later in 16th century lyrics, poetry by John Dowland and Thomas Campion. My mishearing Lynn's words, "I ate his butter," is an example of the provincial sense of time. In a proper understanding of time, you focus on causes and effects over centuries or years or hours. But from a limited, intensely local viewpoint, the centuries and years and hours might be understood through a particular place and its people. That's how I misheard Lynn Chase's plain sentence. Space, in the form of a town and its imagination, preempted the reality of time. In a certain kind of place, everything can feel simultaneous. Somewhere in my imagination, along with a rational sense of history, general and personal, I dwell in a cloudy olden days, where the two little boys with their pretty mother, all three of them in leopard-spotted swimsuits, walked to the beach down a stairway from the bluff being painted by Winslow Homer, crossing the boardwalk in Ocean Avenue where they could buy lunch at Max's famous hot dogs and admire the fast horses of President Grant, who defeated the forces of evil in the Civil War. Grant, a friend of Mark Twain, and a hard-drinking man who might buy his prohibited whiskey from my Zadie Pop, or maybe drink it at Zadie Pop's Broadway Tavern near the Garfield Grant Hotel. Landmarks in an irrational but significant past that may even